The Minnesota Timberwolves just made the biggest gamble of the Anthony Edwards era. This isn't a minor roster tweak or a depth move. It's a full-on statement about who they believe they are right now and where they're trying to go next. With Minnesota Timberwolves putting more pressure on a win-now window built around Anthony Edwards, every decision carries a different weight, and this one raises the stakes even higher. It signals that Minnesota is no longer treating Edwards as just a rising star. They're building the entire identity of the franchise around his timeline. But gambles in the NBA always come with consequences. If it works, it accelerates a contender. If it doesn't, it can set a rebuild back years. Either way, the message is clear. The Timberwolves are no longer playing safe. They're betting everything on their future being now.
News from Shams Charania. The Charlotte Hornets are trading star guard LaMelo Ball and Josh Green to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Naz Reid.
This move ends in one of two ways: a championship or a complete disaster, with no middle ground. The moment it became official, the basketball world immediately split in half. Some saw the formation of the most dangerous backcourt in the NBA, built to attack, score, and overwhelm anyone in their path, while others saw a high-risk gamble that could collapse under pressure if the fit doesn't work and expectations become too heavy. For the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, everything now hinges on chemistry, timing, and execution, because this isn't just another roster move. It's a full commitment to a win-now identity that could either elevate the Minnesota Timberwolves into true contenders overnight or set them back years if it fails.
This is, right now, to me, the best backcourt in the NBA.
And others believe Minnesota didn't take a leap forward at all. They actually took a massive step backward. To them, this wasn't a move that pushed the Minnesota Timberwolves closer contention, but one that risked disrupting chemistry, balance, and the long-term development of the roster built around Anthony Edwards. In a league where fit matters just as much as talent, critics saw uncertainty where others saw ambition, arguing that high-pressure win-now swings can just as easily derail a rising team as they can elevate it.
I think this is a step backwards, and I think they've taken steps backwards since the cat trade.
A lot of people, and honestly most of the league, still don't know where to stand on it. 6 years after being drafted first and third in the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball are finally linked in the same story. And when the news broke, Edwards was reportedly thrilled because he understands better than anyone what this move is really about. At its core, Minnesota believes this trade solves the one missing piece that has quietly held them back from reaching the NBA Finals. After back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances, the Minnesota Timberwolves saw their season end earlier than expected, including a frustrating playoff exit where their offense collapsed under pressure and key contributors failed to deliver when it mattered most. The pattern has been the same for years. In big playoff moments, the offense shrinks into isolation, forcing Edwards to carry possessions without a true floor general to steady the game. Different names have come and gone: Ricky Rubio, D'Angelo Russell, Patrick Beverley, Mike Conley. But the problem never fully disappeared, and injuries only made the situation worse, exposing how thin the backcourt really was. Behind the scenes, the pressure was building. How long could a franchise ask its superstar to do everything before he starts looking elsewhere? Minnesota knew they couldn't run it back quietly again. They needed a real swing, and this was a name they kept circling.
LaMelo! Yeah!
On paper, the fit looked almost too obvious. LaMelo Ball just put up 20.1 points and 7.1 assists across 72 games, his healthiest season since 2022, and the impact went far beyond the box score. When LaMelo was on the floor, his team averaged 123.2 points per 100 possessions. But where he sat, that number dropped all the way to 110.6, one of the largest on-off swings in the entire league, behind only elite offensive engines like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. In other words, he wasn't just producing, he was driving the entire system. That kind of offensive gravity and playmaking is exactly what the Minnesota Timberwolves have been missing next to Anthony Edwards. And according to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, that was precisely the type of engine Minnesota had been searching for to unlock its next level.
Minnesota, this is a move to get Ant Edwards the kind of backcourt running mate that he needs. Ant Edwards was a guy that people, after Giannis getting traded, were like, is this the next star player to be traded? He has watched Karl-Anthony Towns go to New York in a trade that ended up not working out and win a championship. Where is his mind, his head at? He's tired of being double teamed. They get him a dynamic scorer in the backcourt. You throw a double team in Ant Edwards with LaMelo Ball on the court, you are playing with fire. LaMelo will drop 10 3-pointers on you in the blink of an eye. And so this is what their move is to accomplish this.
But here's the stat that explains exactly why Tim Connelly pushed for this move. Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball were both among the 5 most prolific pull-up three-point shooters last season, something only a handful of duos in league history have ever done since tracking began in 2013-14. The only comparable pairs were James Harden and Chris Paul in Houston, and Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in Portland. And in both cases, those teams finished with top-tier offenses, often ranked second in the NBA. That's the blueprint Minnesota is chasing. But the real twist is in how Edwards actually scores. He shot nearly 50% on catch-and-shoot threes this season, the best mark among over 300 players with at least 75 attempts. But only 28% of his threes came in catch-and-shoot situations. The other 72% were self-created, and his efficiency dropped significantly when forced into that role. In simple terms, Minnesota's best shooter was spending most of his time creating his own looks because the roster never consistently generated clean ones for him. Now imagine flipping that dynamic with LaMelo Ball beside him. A 6 feet 7 inches playmaking guard with elite vision, creativity, and the ability to bend defenses with a single action. Instead of carrying every possession, Edwards could finally shift off the ball, running off screens, attacking closeouts, and getting kind of clean catch-and-shoot opportunities that elite offenses are built on. With LaMelo ranking near the top of the league in assists and three-point production for point guards, Minnesota's front office is betting that this combination unlocks an offense that has been waiting to explode. But only if everything clicked.
Basically only on winning. I look at winning. Charlotte, you're going to have some time that's going to happen. With Minnesota, they were in a situation where it's like, y'all need to move the needle or else things are going to start.
So that's the cost. A true co-star for Anthony Edwards, paid for a fan favorite, salary flexibility, and nearly a decade of draft capital. Bold? Absolutely. But the real concern for Minnesota fans isn't even what they gave up. It's what the roster looks like right now. Because on paper, the front court situation is a major red flag. There is no proven starting power forward, and beyond Minnesota Timberwolves core pieces like Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels, the only other size under contract is 19-year-old rookie Joan Beringer, who logged just a few hundred minutes last season. That means the entire depth behind Gobert is almost entirely untested, raising serious questions about who holds down the paint in high-stakes playoff basketball. For years, Minnesota's identity was built around size and defensive structure. Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Naz Reid gave them one of the deepest front courts in the league. Now, Gobert stands essentially alone as the only reliable anchor, entering an age 34 season with far more responsibility than ever before. Last year, the Timberwolves leaned heavily into double big lineups, using them for thousands of minutes as their blueprint for surviving elite Western Conference sides like Oklahoma City, Denver, and San Antonio. That foundation is now gone. And while LaMelo Ball brings offensive creativity and star-level playmaking, defense becomes a major question mark, especially when opponents inevitably target him in playoff matchups. Minnesota can try sliding McDaniels up to the 4, but that risks weakening the perimeter defense that was supposed to protect their system in the first place. For a team with championship expectations, this is unfamiliar territory, and it's exactly why reactions across the league have been so sharply divided.
Of the season with one big and Rudy Gobert, especially with all the guys that are going to have to go through the West, going through Jokic, going through Wemby, going through Chet, like they're going to need some size to add there. But as far as LaMelo Ball, listen, he's exciting. He's a hell of a talent. He can put up a lot of good numbers, and he's filling a hole that this team needs. Now there's just another hole that they need that I think is more major than what they needed in the first.
The Minnesota Timberwolves may already have another move lined up, because Tim Connelly rarely leaves a roster unfinished. But until that happens, the situation looks extremely tight and risky. As Danny Green suggested, sometimes a team has to take a step back before it can move forward. But Minnesota's biggest concern is whether it has the financial flexibility to survive that dip. They're now essentially hard capped near the second apron at around $190 million, with only about $11 million available to fill multiple roster spots, which in today's NBA is barely enough for minimum level depth, let alone a real front court upgrade, since they can't realistically sign their way out of the problem. Every solution has to come via trade, and they don't have much flexibility left to make one. On top of that, the on-court fit raises real questions. Two high-usage guards like Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball both want control of the offense, and neither has experience sharing the backcourt with another creator at this level, meaning roles, rhythm, and chemistry will have to be figured out quickly under pressure. Finally, everything hinges on LaMelo's durability, given his long injury history and the fact he's missed a significant portion of his career games. If he can't stay healthy, the entire gamble collapses with little remaining roster flexibility to recover. If the Anthony Edwards LaMelo Ball experiment works, Minnesota instantly becomes one of the most dangerous offensive teams in the NBA, with two elite creators who can bend defenses in completely different ways and finally solve the late game, scoring issues that have limited them in recent playoff runs. But the risk is just as extreme because LaMelo's injury history, the team's tight second apron cap situation, and a lack of flexibility to fix roster holes mean there's very little margin for error, especially in a West dominated by younger, deeper teams like OKC and San Antonio. In other words, it's a high-ceiling championship swing that could either unlock Minnesota's best version or collapse under health and fit issues with almost no safety net to recover.